this dancefloors in Accra, and Afropolitan space, senses of collectiveness in some DJ scenes. And chairing today's seminar is Dr. Moses Nii-Dortey, who is a senior research fellow at the Institute of African Studies and also the head of the music section of the Institute. He will introduce to us our presenter for today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ajay. So I think my job is quite a simple one. Today we have a guest presenter who is in the person of Dr. Laure Carbonnel. I think I took a little French lessons from her before I started. So. Dr. Carbonnel is a French anthropologist, and currently she's a senior research fellow at the Marian Institute for Advanced Studies in Africa, NIASA for short, in the University of Ghana here. Dr. Carbonnel research generally addresses the effective regulation of conduct and process of categorization. She analyzes the performances and organization of ritual clans and cultural entrepreneurs and DJs in Mali and Ghana. For her specific presentation for today, she responds to the question what senses of collectiveness are created or reproduced in dance floors. And she addresses this question in direct relation to Accra, which she describes as both a cosmopolitan space and also because of Accra's nightlife. I wish to read this particular place before she says that my research addresses the way people circulating between places experience ephemeral collectives and economies, or even create them when they gather in pubs, nightclubs, or events to listen to music and dance. Dr. Carbonnel, I wish to welcome you to the Institute, and you do have the floor. I think the chairman says you have 40 minutes. So after 30 minutes, we would sort of prompt you so that we can have interaction thereafter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ooh. Yes, thank you very much. I just kind of share screen. Wow. Is that okay? Okay. I tried to put away. Is that okay like that? Or I don't know how to. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present my ongoing research. I really look forward for your comments and questions. It will help me further. So yeah, I'm an anthropologist, and until recently I was doing my field work mainly in Mali and France. So here in Accra, I'm here for 1 year, and I've decided to conduct my research from the perspective of the circulation of people, circulation and occurrences of people, and to follow DJs from two different scenes, electronic dance music and francophone scene. So DJs tend to dominate the musical and dance scenes in different countries, but there is not much studies about them, in particular in the continent. I find it interesting that they have the freedom to choose any music from a very wide range of recorded songs, and to be successful, their performance does not only depend on their own taste or their technical skills, it also depends on their ability to fit with the situation, to fit with the moment during the gathering, and more important, on their knowledge of how to affect people through the music in order to create the expected and still surprising atmosphere. So for example, a DJ will come here and look at the space and say, okay, people are here for chilling, not for partying. And another said that he tries to know more about the crowd before in order to play the appropriate song for them. So I'm interested in the sense of togetherness that is created during this gathering. By this, I'm referring very basically to basic feeling of comfort, of curiosity, responsiveness, or disinterest a person may experience when visiting such gathering. So this sense of togetherness could be attributed to the individual tastes, to lifestyle, or just mood. For example, speaking on gospel, high life, and hip life in the 1990s, Shipley states, and I quote, "Each genre represents a competing social imagery through its associated fashions, sound, and social space." So he had that for some use, gospel and high life are too local and too slow. So hip life provides symbolic access to Afro-cosmopolitan worlds and its form of performative power. But how do these imageries are created or implemented? The success of fellow gathering also depends on the work of the organizer, the work of musicians or DJs and other technicians. It depends also on the participation of all customers who co-construct the atmosphere and the imagery. So this study intends to look more into the detail of what goes on during this gathering, what type of collective are produced or reproduced, how dance and music events may be a concrete experience of what we call diaspora, Pan-Africanism, Afropolitanism, cosmopolitanism, and how it shapes also the imagery of the city because Accra is well known for its nightlife. So my choice of the two scenes, electronic dance music and a francophone, is determined by linguistic constraint, as I speak only French, English, and Bambara. Also, these two scenes allow me to highlight the notion of diaspora at two different scales. At the scale of neighboring countries, like for example, Malian or Gabonese coming to Accra, and at the scale of the continents, then we talk about the African diaspora. So as it is a work in progress, I'm really in the middle of my fieldwork now. I will briefly present the whole project and some theoretical background, and I will present also my some part of my fieldwork and axis of analysis. So my research, global research of my research is entitled "Moving Together from the Mobility Between Cities to Dance Floors." So I have first to present how spatial mobility can be linked with dance movement in the dance floor. So Eichberg has presented three dimensions of movements. First, people move in bodily activities as dance. Second, people are moved by feeling. Third, people unite and meet in association, networks, organization, what we call social movements. And I will down a fourth one that people move also from one place to another. So the three dimension, I have found at least three links between these dimensions. First, between activity of dancing and the fact of people the circulation and of courageous people. So Alison Okuda wrote an article named "Building a Home Away from Home, Musical Spaces and Diasporic Feedback from London to Accra, 1950s to 1980s. And I quote, "Nightclubs, student and cultural centers, and music shops were critical musical spaces, or what I term homes, because they were sites for consistent support and leisure for Ghanaians, musicians, and other migrants of African descent." But this feeling home, creating like the fact of creating a place to feel attuned with its own experience, is not only something we do abroad, because she described that back home, these Ghanaians who had lived in London, back home, they create new music that merge their different influences, and they also open new places like nightclubs and schools that express this experience of circulation and multiple anchorage in Ghana and in England. So, and we will see that electronic dance music scene looks very much like the same process. Hence, the notion of home is really interesting, but it has two limits. First, feeling home refers more to an experience than a place, so an experience in different anchorage. So what place are we referring to? And this question is also an issue for people who have multiple anchorage, in particular in different continents. So instead of the expression of feeling home, I will talk about the fact of being attuned, and I will talk about anchorages, or the way to inhabit a place. And I took this expression from Laure and Philo, who wrote a paper about place of conviviality in the city, like a coffee. And I quote, "The cafe, while carrying expectation of conviviality, provides this form of temporary dwelling for its customer, and with it, its right for privacy in public, which is also articulate to the openness of the regulars who do greet newcomers in the cafe because it's still a public space." So a second dimension is the fact of being moved, second dimension of movement. And this is really the job, the work of DJs. And it has also to do with the experience of different anchorages. So I cite two DJs. One, I quote one DJ from the electronic dance music scene. So when we're watching a video of his set, showing the dancer, he talked about the music and he said, "Oh, this is a Brazilian band called Sango." And then he talked about the dance. I comment, "Yeah, and she has lived in Brazil before, so she understands. That's why she was dancing so much," and he laughed. And for another stand with the same song, he said, "Oh, look, this woman is Brazilian, so she really liked the song." So he refers to the language, like she understands the lyrics of the song, but he then mentioned just the relationship between hearing a Brazilian song and being Brazilian, like meaning it will resonate more for her in particular. And another DJ from the francophone scene emphasizes this process. When I asked him why he was always playing what he called old school at the beginning of his set, and he said, "Old school, it will remind him the old time of moments he shared. He was, for example, in such and such country, he will say, 'Oh, I remember that.' So it's a bit a nostalgic moment, in fact." And he said, "When you put pressure on the customer's emotion, if the sounds remind him of good times, he will love the place for sure." So to move people through emotion is also to play with this nostalgic experience of in different countries, in different places. And the third dimension is, so we talk about movement like the group, unit together. And this I will develop it in the second part of my presentation, which is about how to connect people and about music networks, organizers, and style of music and dance. So let's start with electronic dance music. Electronic dance music is quite new in Accra, but the work of Collins and Adu Gilmore give us some historical background from the 1960s to 2000s. And it highlights that this type of gathering is the result of the circulation of devices, people, and they encourage in places, events, and networks. So from the work of Collins, we know in the 60s that there were already nightclubs, but DJs were playing record here. But electronic music itself. Hello? Hello? Okay, thank you, sorry. So I was saying that, yeah, electronic dance music really emerged in the 1970s. And there was, at the same time, with gospel music and world music, when the commercial musical scene and live bands were decreasing. There was three factors contributed to the rise of electronic dance music. There was one device, the mobile disco spinner, So I quote Collins, he said, cheap to operate, it gradually took over dance floors, replacing the high-life bands. And then there was also two new electronic music genres, which were created by Ghanaians who had lived in Germany and in USA. It's Burger Life and Hip Life. And then in the 2000s, for more specifically for the electronic dance music scene, since 2016, there are new events that have been launched by DJs, but also bars and festivals open a special scene for electronic dance music. So my work to a certain extent follows the next step of this history of electronic dance music in Accra with two platforms and a collective who shape what they call a communities of DJs, and they shape also the narrative around music from the continent and the diaspora. So we present briefly the two platforms. The first one is ephemeral sound system. It is presented as a creative agency. So it has its online, so the founder is a Ghanaian who has studied sociology at university and then taught himself strategy, digital marketing. So it has its own website that advertise artists for playlist. He also regularly organized sound systems on site in Accra. And there, DJs are not paid, but Amela offered them the possibility of being released on a big commercial music platform, which is Apple Music. So he's also a curator on this online commercial American platform. And he presents like thematic playlists like 100% Ghanaian or around style of music. And he also joined the Grammy Recording Academy in USA, whose aim is, I quote, bringing more awareness to artists that need to be heard. So its mottos are connecting people through sound, and we are the authority on who's next. So his strategy really can be compared with the way Afrobeats, the music, seem to have spread to the world by claiming Afro origin, but instead of going to the world music scene, it entered directly in the huge pop music commercial corridors. So there's another platform founded in December 2021 by one English-born Nigerian DJ and one Ghanaian German DJ. So they were already circulating between London, Berlin, Accra, and many others, and they decided to found a radio here in Accra. So it has its own online platform that hosts resident DJs and present also the cities where they are from. So when you look at the website, you really have the impression of grouping because all the artists are presented together alphabetically and also the cities. And there is no idea of country or continent, just connected cities and people through residencies. It also organized events like a masterclass to learn how to be a DJ, and particularly for women, and some parties, and he's really linked with Ballroom, which is a British online platform that organizes events all the world. So this connection between sounds around the world is more closer for the model of transpolitanism, which connect people, sound, and even through they encourage in cities. But in these two platforms, it's the same DJs and the same community, just two ways to connect to different parts of the world. And there is another one more local collective, so Ghana, Vibrate, and all my cousins. So it's a Black Caribbean French woman who came to Ghana to open. She started with a social network of skateboarders and surfer. Then she opened a place, a skate park. And then she, with a Ghanaian music artist, producer, and songwriter, they opened a sound studio. And there's also a new collective of artists, and they are hosting parties also in these places. So the francophone scene is organized a bit differently here in Accra. It's more and have this day less information because I will engage myself more in the fieldwork on the weeks to come. But also the history of the scene has to be done. There's not much studies on francophone here in Ghana. So this expression of francophone is based on the categorization used by my interlocutors, which are two DJs who are both men from Gabon. DJ Buzz told me that he does work with other people, but they have never found a collective or platform like that. It's a group of French who organize some parties together, and for each event, they may add the term French. For example, French connection, French party. So to understand this category francophone, I look at Church's papers. She observed in Accra that parents from neighboring francophone countries, seem to be more interested in claiming the fact that they are francophone than in claiming their ethnic identity. For this reason, parents make effort to maintain French. And she quotes a father who used to speak Ewe to his children before coming to Ghana. But now he said, if I speak Ewe, the boy is becoming completely English speaking. So we speak French home. So Church explained this attitude by the fact that indigenous languages are not considered as real language, but dialect or patois. So the past and DJs and people really say that we are francophone in an anglophone country. So the path of circulation of worker and probably since 2000 of students coming to Ghana from francophone countries are strongly based on the relationship between new and old migrants that operate like an institution said d'union. So most of the students I met then come to Ghana to Accra to learn English and they go back home. For some of them, Accra is just a step in their circulation, then to go to other countries like Canada. And a few of them will stay. And this is the case of the DJs I followed. And they are clearly part of these old migrants that will help new migrants offering services. They organize also animate parties, but also they help with fund transfers, with circulation of goods, and so on. So the way people categorize themselves as francophone is in an anglophone country is also the way they categorize their music and then dance parties. But then, of course, within francophone parties, we can hear music from different countries and heard different languages. There is also a conception of music and dance as something linked to lineage and filiation. In her study of Afro scene in France, Laure talks about embodying home in post-migration in the way the French youth, specifically dancers and musicians, embody knowledge of homely rhythms through the consumption of dance videos. So from this specific configuration of francophone diaspora coming in anglophone countries, the form of circulation of encourage is more characterized by like coming home with its own music and then to mix it with some popular music such as Afrobeat and Amapiano for Accra. And of course, I'm talking here about parties. Francophone people may not go to these parties, and they may also go elsewhere. So the question is not about identity, it's rather about different means of sociability, of gathering and dancing, and what it implies and how it implies a certain way of relating to other places and other people. So the question now is, what's happening in this dance and music gathering? What kind of relationship and collective are shared? So this is my third and last part. So I will start with some perspective and theoretical background very quickly. So there's lots of literature on sounds and music, but my aim is really to develop studies focusing more on movement, both gestures and dance. and on-site events. Because we can listen to any music, but we don't go to any dance gathering. So I quote again Shipley. He said when he worked on hip life, that he began to go to concerts. Then he realized, I quote, that musical performance lay primarily in its electronic circulations. So he didn't go to concert anymore. And this electronic network is really fundamental. And interestingly, it looked like online, the music can be heard if we don't have dance movements. So we see it in clip, but we see also in like on-site events that are filmed and broadcast. And still, even if this online network is important, still gatherings are organized for some reasons. So I consider this gathering first as a situation where I study different dimensions. So I analyze the situation of interlocution based on pragmatic, but also musical and dance movement, so based on anthropology of dance, but also the relationships, maturity, and social organization. This space also for me a space of sociability and conviviality. And even if it's ephemeral, it's still fundamental role in society. And I use a comparative approach because my aim was to take, of course, into account the different lifestyles, but to put them in perspective in order to look for more common structural process about this dance gathering. And for this comparative approach, so I pay attention to categorizations, and also I focus on events in order to analyze, I quote, the group that make the community, instead of entering through a predefined organization and a predefined group. And I was quoting Monica Salzbrunn. So I told about also my perspective about circulation and courage. It means that I don't study one event in different countries or different places, but more focus on a different style, different events in the same city. So I can also try to know what does Pan-African cosmopolitan quality is. And yeah, one methodology I'm working on now is like to link description of movement based on Laband effort shape and with description sound and interactions. So let's go now to the gatherings and start with electronic dance music scenes. So the parties really take the forms. You can see here some posters. The parties really take the form of concert-like events organized by the platform or collective I talked about. And in these events, like DJs will play like just 1 hour or not more, like an artist. So if we look at the different platform, we can see a different incongruence between the orientation of the platform, the chosen location, because Ephemeral organizes its sound system mainly in front back, which is a membership club based in Accra. And while Oroco Radio organizes more its event at Freedom Skate Park, which is more routine towards a community solidarity between the members of community. So what's going there? Let's go directly to the first hour of one sound system, which is organized by Laure at FAC. I just show here that how this event like shape the place. The second image is on Freedom Skate Park. So how the lights also create a special atmosphere. So okay. So Laure is an event. It's a sound system that offers a lineup of 12 DJs in 12 hours. So the first, it's noon, it starts at noon, the one I show here. So people enter the courtyard of the club, they stand, chat, drink, and watch their phones after the DJ and the technician have already done some tests. And then the organizer comes next to the DJ and starts to greet people. So he will present the name of the first DJs, his music. The first DJs is deep house. So he said, yes, you know, this guy knows anything about house music. And he talked about the attitude the crowd can have with him and within the event. He said, yeah, you can come here, push him, have fun. And then he launches the DJ with a sentence, make some noise for, and that's the name of the DJs. On the first note of the music, a white girl who is also a DJ chatting with her neighbor on the front starts to bounce her leg on the beat. Her left knee heel strikes the ground following the musical percussion. And there is a man standing next to her with a cap she probably don't know, but she has exactly the same attitude. The melody takes off and the DJ accompanied with sweeping gesture of his hand backward, then he whips his hand forward as an avalanche of 16 notes percussion begins. So the dancers face it. So there really an introduction between DJs and people. So the dancers are facing the DJs and they keep following the beat, and now the rhythm of the song make them bounce, swing, turn, but they still stay in the place and stand. And they also mark the accent with a whip of their arm. So after 1 hour of sets, the organizer greets the DJs, people yell again, and he addresses again the crowd. He said, ladies, hi, don't be shy. And at the guy, guys, please come here, join us here. Sorry, I missed a page. Oh, this is awkward. Or maybe I can just, okay. So yeah, I missed a page. I just need, I'm sorry. What a suspense. What he said. Okay. Okay, so just to say, I will resume here. Tick, tick, tick. I try to find everything on the same screen. It's not easy. Okay. What I wanted to say. Yeah, so just want to say that music and dance shape is shaped by the dance space is shaped by the organizer Nancy, who invites the audience to come closer to the DJ booth. And then for the the second DJ starts, and like before, the crowd in front of the DJ move to the beat. But we can see at the back of the place that 4 dancers dance together, and 4 girls dance a bit differently. And we can see that they dance together, they accentuate effect of proximity because they stand apart from the crowd, they show continuous connection, looking at each other, talking to each other, smiling, leaning on each other, filming culture. And they also follow a dance which is a bit different because their dance is intermittent, controlled, and oriented toward their own image and not toward the DJs. So in the same place, we can have different people, different way of grouping, different way of dancing also. And just very quickly, one important thing also to feel this collectiveness in parties when people are singing the same song together. I mean, maybe not together, but they sing the same song, and we can see like the bartender, the dancer, and the DJ singing the same songs. So what's going on here from my first analysis? So we have like a social networks which are grouping during this dance gathering in a distant intimacy, because we have people in this gathering. We had people from 3 continents. They stand or sit side by side, move around. Their attention is oriented toward the DJ booth, which is the principal attractor, not attraction, attractor for the dancers, waiting to be moved by its music. there are social cycles. I mean, people can come together, but this cycle blend into the crowd, but can blend into the crowd, but they can also create their own space. Be yourself, yelling, singing, worry as you like, dancing as you like is part of the expected attitude, as it was rated to me from a DJ. And it is an attitude, he said, you can't have everywhere in Accra. Talk to someone you don't know, say some MC. So Instagram account work as visit cards for networking within creative people, within people from the diaspora and their friends. So if we go now to the francophone parties, the ambience is a bit different. So in these parties, DJs who look individually for a place to play music, and these places also do look for people to host thematic events that will make new customers come. So in the two francophone parties I attend, DJs were also the hosts. That means that they are in charge of the communication and they mobilize their own networks. So the venues were filled with tables and chairs, and the DJ booth was along a wall. So very different configuration. We don't want customers to come and bother the DJ with some requests, one manager told me. So here the DJ cannot be filmed with people behind him. And there is also no empty place for dancing in front of here. The people dance around the table. So people come and sit on the table and then they dance around the table, either couple dancing, side dancing, or group dancing. But there still are links in between people. So we can see in the second images, there is two girls dancing side by side. They are not facing the DJ, they are facing another table, which is on the other part of the room, on the other side of the room. So in other party, it starts at midnight, not at noon. DJs install their booth, the pub is still empty. So when people come, they greet the DJ who is just on the right of the front door. And they go eventually greet some other people in the place, and then they go and sit. So the first seat taken are at the back. We have the seat facing the front door and the DJ. So people on the back can see everybody's coming easily. And this is a place where people will dance the most. So it's also the place people see first when they enter the place. So nobody introduces the DJ, who will be the only one playing from midnight to 5 a.m. Instead, around 2 a.m., when the place is crowded, the DJ announces the name of company name of some person who were present in the room. And the DJs were also going outside to call on the waitress to serve the newcomers. So in this configuration, how DJ make people move together? So one question I have also is how people move from sitting to standing position, which is a question I have also with electronic scene when it's in a bar. So I'm quite late, I think, so I have to hurry a bit. So just quickly, to give one example, at 1 a.m. at the back on the right, a man sitting leans forward to put his glass down, then in again and goes up and start dancing. He rotated his torso, he started a pedal movement of the arm, giving more amplitude on dance. And at the next table, a guy also do a movement with his arm, and then he stretched with the lateral undulation of the legs, he stand up and sit again at the same time. And later we can see that there are different tables, dancers performing the same form of undulating dance that facilitates the movement of standing and sitting. So the dance are totally integrated in the situation of interaction, sitting interaction, and they also can be a way to interact with someone. So just very quickly, it was about a guy who was chatting with some people in the table, and he was again to go outside. But when he was his way to go outside, he hear the note of a famous song, Cough, is Daniel. So he turned around to go back to his table and dance with another guy, an interaction dance. And the chorus, the whole table group dance the same step as we can see on the scene and form a circle. And again, when he came back, it was the same. And it's only at around 4 a.m. that the dancer tend to feel all the place and go away of the table. So here we have more social. In this configuration, we have more social circles connecting with a close intimacy between people who know each other within a flowing city. So the audience here mainly from one francophone country, Gabon. It's not always the case, and it's just this party. They sit and dance around their own table, but they also connect with people at the tables. The dancer's attention is focused on the co-dancer when there is one. So it's not like just bouncing and looking at DJs and looking at phones. It's very focused dances. And the flow of the dance is intermittent, restrained on just some part of the song. It's not continuous. And DJs told me that this pair are good for networking with people from the same country. So to conclude, well, it's not really a conclusion because just more to open the discussion. So I emphasize the main characteristic of DJ party from two different scenes. I do not have yet enough data for comparison, just some axis of analysis. And so the idea was to beyond the imagery of this type of music to understand the way people inhabit the city and the world in creating space of community. So the difference I first noticed were dependent on the type of event rather than scenes. Like we look at an event was like partying in a concert-like event where dance comes first and then people sit to rest and drink. And here DJs had to create a continuous movement. And the second, we saw it was more chilling in a pub when people are seated and dance to a specific chorus or song. But still, electronic dance music events are really much characterized by these concert-like events, which fit with the kind of lively atmosphere expected and the kind of relationship also. Also, each configuration engages a specific financial system in order to have free or cheap entrance fee. And the electronic dance event concert-like are depending on brand sponsor or foreign commercial platform to get the digital space. While the financing of chilling and dancing event in pubs depend on the venue, which is most cases sell drinks to make money and then pay DJ out of the money made. So I understood that what we call Afropolitanism is more about this event-based economy with a focus on creating an African-based narrative across continents. But my question is, what about how should the movement of people who go to other countries within the continent to create their own narrative, how they should be characterized? And my answer would be to go go beyond ism, Pan-Africanism, Afropolitanism, to consider more broadly how people deal with cultural hegemonies. It can be American cultural hegemony in the world, in different countries, and different continents trying to make their own voice being heard. But it can be also Anglophone cultural hegemony in the African continent with other kind of music from francophone countries try to be heard. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Carbonnel, for your presentation on dance floors in Accra and Afropolitan space, senses of collectiveness in some DJs. I would not attempt to summarize. What I would do is to open up the discussion straight away. So that we can have some feedback, hopefully by the end. We'll see what we can do from there. So the floor is open for questions. Thank you very much. So far, nobody. So I think we would take, if we can take 3 to start with.
What all three for me was example.
Okay.
So thank you very much for that, Laure. It got me thinking about, I no longer do nightlife, but because about 2 decades ago, I then began to see francophone nights. So like, you do that if you wanted a francophone night and went on a Wednesday night, so on and so forth. So that's been going on for a while. And I like your point that the Afropolitan concept doesn't quite get at that community and what they. What I find missing in the analysis though is that sort of setup. So the DJ space, what happens to the Ghanaians who have participated in this? You've got the francophone spaces, they've got the electronic music, but there's this whole space with Afrobeats and hip life and so on. That's also a DJ space for all the young Ghanaians. And in the analysis, you flatten them or disappear them. And I wonder what you do with that analysis. What kinds of concepts that would also, because I've also been in Dakar and been quite amazed in Dakar to have like an Anglophone music scene. So go to a club in Dakar and they're playing the Nigerian music and the Ghanaian music. So that's also happening in the Francophone spaces where the reverse is happening. But what do you do with the Anglophone, the hip life in the Anglophone spaces? Or like the Francophone music within the Francophone spaces as well. So that's my first one. The second one was something about, and I don't do music, so I don't really have the language for it. But I do have a sense of, we do the call and response with stories and with music and so on. And the ways in which you could think about the DJ as sort of like the initiator. So that's the person doing the calling. And the response now is the dancing on the dance floor. So the music form might be different, but the space is created by a return to what you might call the traditional. What we do with an Anansi story and how the grandma tells the story, then halfway through the children join in the singing and so on. So I don't know who to even refer you to, but I'm sure there's something there about, this is really call and response. But then, you are the music person. So you answer it. But I think there's something there that she should play around with.
Okay, we can talk about call and response after. Okay, good. You want to, is there a day online, somebody? Okay, so I think you can respond to this first too.
Yeah, thank you very, very much for this question. It was really 2 points important in my research. And yeah, so I first begin to follow these 2 scenes, and then I thought maybe it's too different, and it's still very specific. And I was thinking of going to see Afrobeats scenes where everybody goes, and I wanted somewhere where everybody goes. So I was thinking first about going to Afrobeat parties, and then I was thinking about Amapiano, which I found very interesting because Amapiano music is played in any events. And it looked like, because I was trying to look at the different type of movements, and it looked like it can be danced from, I mean, you just can bounce on it, which is not the case of Afrobeats. I mean, if sometimes if I hear Afrobeat, I don't know how to dance on it. But Amapiano, you can just bounce on it and you can have really nice step dance. So I was interested by that, but yes, it's really exactly the next step. Yeah, thank you very much for this question. And I was also so I don't know what is callers and response. Maybe you can tell me.
Well, it's a kind of performance structure, very common in particularly traditional African music, where you often have a lead singer Okay, if you have watched particularly the African Americans sing their gospels, you would see it. Often there is one lead singer, is likely to sing the entire thing, and then the chorus takes over. But it doesn't occur only in the area of singing. It is also in the storytelling mode. You know, sometimes the storyteller goes ahead, and then along the way there are intermittent or if interjections of music. Somebody picks up the main song and then the chorus. So basically it is a lead singer with a chorus responding. And I think wants you to relate this concept to what the DJ does. Along the way, as it were, prodding the audience to respond to some lead statements and just to whip up you know, I want you to look at what the DJ does within the concept of as a way of digging deep into the DJ's tradition of storytelling, of call and response. No.
Yes, thank you very much. It's really fit with one situation I filmed, and I didn't know what to do with that. And some, because it was also another scene, it was like students. Students, it was very interesting because Laure usually go to front back, and then for the last one, she decided to go to a place called Beehive, which is really like, it's said that it is for the Generation Z communities, so really for the youth. And at the first DJs, there was lots of students, and then they start with house dance music, and then all the students went away, and other people came. And it was very interesting because in this first part with students, it was really led and singer like. The DJ just launched a song and everybody really was singing, yelling, bouncing. And it was very interesting, and it was, yeah, a quite again, different. But yes, I was also thinking about this. I was thinking about how to analyze DJs' work. Why is there are so many DJs now? And one kind of what they do also with the in-house music, house dance music, is to just it's really based on the beats. And I was talking with some musician, and he said, I mean, it can be also. We can think also how we can link it with some other percussion musics and so on, and how relate to that. So yes, I was thinking also of try to find some links with some more some structural musical dancing or events that we know already. Yes, and so thank you. I will look at this one. So nobody wants to talk about their dancers coming.
Okay, so I came a bit late, so but judging from what the presentation, I realized that you talked on you have some theoretical leanings, especially the use of social networking as one of your theoretical bases. But I find what you're discussing very interesting because as I grew up as a dancer on the street, I became part of this DJ open space kind of performances in the 1980s thereabout. And I realized from what you are discussing today, how very dynamic that space is, how it metamorphoses over time. And I am looking at whether you've considered looking at ritual as one of the theories from which you would want to make your argument. Because for a scholar like Douglas Marshall, 2002, he made an argument on ritual based on three things: belief, belonging, and behavior. Now, as I listen to you make those analysis of the audiences present when the DJ was playing and how they were standing and how they were relating and all that, you realize that people create ritual in a way during such spaces. And therefore, based on their ritual, they would act and react. So students in a particular space, when you are playing music that for them is their ritual, once you stop, they will exit and another set will come who have created their own ritual. And remember, I'm talking about a dynamic space. And Douglas talks about like 5 things that I think that maybe from here I can give that so that you look for that article and read. He talks about de-individuation, where in that space, people become another. They move away from their individual selves and warm themselves up into that ritual that is being performed. So they de-individuate themselves. And then he talks about arousal and arousal and social facilitation during that period when the so-called ritual is ongoing. So they arouse themselves, and so the behavior is based on what the other party is giving to them, and that shapes that atmosphere, and then they begin to create that a ritual. And then the final 2 is conformity and contagion. Conformity and contagion. It gives us 5 points, and I think they will be very important for your research that you are doing, and it will help you shape and understand your work better, as in analyzing how people behave within a particular space and how they interact and how they create what quote unquote can be called ritual. Thank you very much.
Let me read, we take somebody online. Ayo Mensah. Hello, Ayo, are you there?
Yeah, are you hearing me?
Hello?
Hello.
I'm not too sure whether but I just can't say. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Hello, Ayo. Okay,
Yes,
so
can you?
if when Ayo is ready, we can.
Hello? Hello?
All right.
I'm hearing you.
Okay, so you do have the floor, please.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Ayo Mensah. I am a senior fellow at NIASA. Well, I have 2 questions and a suggestion. My first question to Laura is, are you addressing DJing as an art or as an industry? There's something very meaningful to be made here. How do you address this distinction? Secondly, how does it relate to hip hop as an art form, way of life, and commercialized products? Why I'm saying this is because DJing is an essential component of the hip hop culture. I didn't quite see how the connection was made here. Then the suggestion I have here is that the tension between local, national, and transnational belonging and identity in DJing needs to be better nuanced. Thank you.
She wants you to repeat the last question, your last question.
The last one is a suggestion. I'm saying that the tension between the local, national, and transnational belonging and identity in DJing needs to be better nuanced.
The tension, talks about tension between local, transnational.
Thank you.
Are you okay? You want him to repeat it? Can do that. You just okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for yes, for all these insights. Ritual, yes, and thank you for your experience from the 80s. Very nice. Ritual, yes, yeah, I like very much your suggestion, because I was also thinking of, okay, these gatherings in cities are really important now. How can we compare it or not with what anthropology has studied for centuries, like Marcel Mauss and following, I don't remember the name of his studies in English, but yeah, for the place of festive gathering, but like also rituals in the community life. And yes, it's very question like between how we go from rituals to gathering like that. My PhD advisor is a specialist in rituals, so I have I don't use, I mean, there's so many different ways to use this concept, and which is, it's quite interesting that also with it. And he talked more about like relationships within rituals. But yes, maybe this is a way to compare, because for example, for my previous research, I was working on what we call ritual clones, who were studied within rituals first, but then I was following them in any type of event. So I was wondering what is ritual in them in any type of events. So maybe when we can, and also that the fact like the difference between rituals and seculars, lots of time it doesn't work. So we have to think of something, because in any ritual there's festive gathering, or much of them. So we have to think, yes, about it. So I will look at your reference, which looks very nice. Thank you very much. And about so DJs as an artist or industries, I was wondering what you had in mind, Ayo, when you ask a question. It's just a question. I don't know if you're still here, Ayo.
Hello.
Yeah, what you had in mind when you asked me yeah, artist or industry?
Hello, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, what I mean is, if you look at the art of DJing, some people merely appreciate it as an artistic form, but there are people that make so much money out of it. So in their research, were you looking at it as an industry or as an art form? That is the question.
Okay. So yeah, so I'm looking at, I just following people. So, and then I look at how they categorize themselves and how they deal. And so, for example, in this house, electronic dance music scene, DJs are really presented as artists, and they really work on that, and that's why their name as top. They have their biographies. They play only 1 hour, 1 or 2 hours, not all night. They're really in the middle of the scene, so they are like musicians. They are not musicians, but they are like artists, and they are presented as artists. I will ask. I didn't ask. I should ask for the other DJs how they think of themselves, and what artist means also, because the idea, the notion of artist is also really linked with a financial system and a way to think like artist as a part of the production, and so this is not only like qualifying a type of music or of doing music. It's also part of more general organizations. And about so artist is very linked to industry, I think. And but for example, it's interesting because in the electronic dance scene, they talk about artists, and the DJs talk about the audience as the crowd. And but the DJs from the one DJ from the francophone scene I talked with, he was talking about the customers, but because that's why I stress the difference, also the importance of the financial systems around these parties and around this. So yeah, this is a real question. I mean, it's not me that I look as I choose as to look artist or industry, but it is really a question I have to talk about in my to address. Yes, thank you very much. And hip hop, yes, it's very interesting because I rediscovered hip hop in Accra working with electronic dance music scene, because I mean, you're right, DJing starts with hip hop. And here it's very interesting because the two scenes, I'm not specialist, but I think like in France, the two scenes are very different now. And while in Accra, they are very close. I mean, they are playing hip hop, they are playing house music. This is the same people. So yes, yes, you're right. I should talk more about this because it's also part of the history, and it's also how it's interesting to see why it's different, very different scenes in France, I think, and maybe not so much in Accra. So yes, thank you very much for this question and for your suggestion. We talk about it at home.
Thank you. I particularly wish to just emphasize the last bit of the question on the, as to ways in which to look at the DJ. And I think for me, it is not either or. I think it's both. As an artist, because it takes some artistry to really impress upon your audience. And then it is also an industry. I mean, this is working at Takoradi on popular music, the resurgence of popular music in Takoradi. This is what one DJ told me. He says, he loves to work in Accra because he makes more money. He makes more money. And he referred to one particular incident where at the hotel, he had this young Nigerian customers who approached him and told him, see, we have so much money to spend in this hotel. And if you will play this set of music, okay, we would reward you handsomely. And so I asked him, so did you do this? If you were in my shoes, what would you do? You know? So what even fits into the choices of the music they play? It's not as innocent, it's not just an artistic thing. Okay, it's not just an artistic thing. And I think if you consider it as both an industry and also an artistic experience, I think you would be able to explore the various dimensions of the whole DJ. Is there any other person who you want to add?
Yeah, because it made me think that it was a question I wanted to ask for one DJ, because she really needs, she wants to, in the house music, electronic dance music, because she's a very well-known DJ and she launched her own events, and one she had a set and she had also a set in bars and in clubs. But when I asked her, because I follow them and I film them, when I asked her, may I come and film you in this nightclub? She said no. And I have to talk about with her, but I think this is also this idea that, I mean, they have to make money to live also, and they have to make their own reputation also in the artistic side. So yeah, it's very interesting what you just said. Thank you.
if there's no more question, would you just want to clarify this issue for me before we let you go? The whole idea of ephemeral collectiveness. And how would you want to explain it a little further? So, no.
Yeah, it's all the idea of all this research, like looking at what's going on in cafe and so on. It's also I don't remember. There's some research really looking at these ephemeral places, like people you don't know, people who don't know each other. They just meet in places and something happened. It is part of the social life. And lots of time researchers don't look at it because we like very nice predefined groups or whatever. But so that's why we are not talking about groups, even in francophone scene or maybe. But I would like to look more, what's going on. Maybe this is ephemeral, but maybe this is not something you get from your parents, something but this ephemeral moment may have important in the way you just live together. And I was wondering, okay, maybe we have more because dance gathering is the place where we can, as I said, we can merge different experiences of life. And so this is also the way that we can think about or create a new type of collective, new type of dance, of style of life or whatever. Yes.
I think there is one question here for you. Question from Susan. Okay. Bala, okay. It says, one small question on francophones who come from different places and countries, also with different music and dance practices. I wonder how these differences play out dance. Would you want to respond to that? Okay.
Thank you very much, because this is also the next step of my research to look at the last and I have to know more about this dance, but the last party I went was really more Gabonese, because I don't know why, I have to ask. And but the previous party when I think the DJ try to guess who is here from where and try to but how, what kind of music from what countries exactly, and what he plays really at what time. I really have to work on that. Thank you very much. But there is no Senegalese music in Accra. I know she's in Dakar now.
Okay. I don't think there is any more question for you. So I on behalf of Dr. Boubacar and his personal assistant, Dr. J, I wish to thank you very much for coming and for your presentation. And we wish you well in the next level of your research. You're always welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being such a wonderful audience. Have a great afternoon.